First up on the Shouty Shows, also really quick, welcome Nick Wright to the thumbnail. He asked to be a part of the Shouty Show thumbnail, and look, there he made it.
Sent him that yesterday. He's very pleased that he's now on the Shouty Show.
Is that the Mount Rushmore of Shouty Showers?
I mean, it's looking like it now.
It certainly does.
Thank you, by the way, to all the people that sent us in Nick Wright feedback. You know, we asked for people's feedback on whether that was a good thing to do, a bad thing, a betrayal of our Shouty Show principles. Yeah. The feedback was fairly well split down the middle with a complete and total, polarized.
It was
data
basically
set.
like political feedback.
Yeah. It's like people either hated it with a passion and thought it was everything wrong with Shouty showing us just on this show. Yeah. And there were other people that thought it was great. Nick was fantastic, and it was a refreshing thing to have him on the show and get his take from that side of things. So I don't know what you do with that other than thank you for the feedback.
Yes, thanks for the feedback. Appreciate it. No lukewarm. If you have lukewarm feedback, I would love to hear that too.
We're just a middle-of-the-road, moderate take on it. I could go either way on that. It was okay. It was fine. Blah, blah. No, it was either I loved it or I hated it.
But we appreciate it. A lot of people emailed about that, so thank you guys. All right, let's get to it. First one, Shouty Show time.
I just watched my worst nightmare. I'm out of my mind because the Cowboys had won 2 in a row, and I thought they were about to go down and win their 3rd in a row, and then they were going to go to Carolina and win their 4th in a row, and then they were going to come home and beat Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield on Sunday Night Football. That'd be 5 in a row, and then they were going to go to Philly and win 6 in a row, and then they're going to beat Washington at home because they just beat Washington at Washington. That would be 7 in a row, and that would get them at 10-7. And I thought that was about to happen, and then I leaped out of my seat and scared my little Maltese Hazel half to death when we blocked the punt with 2 minutes left. We had that game. We had that game. And down, down, down into Cowboy infamy history goes Oruwariye. And I just got another little piece of my heart ripped out.
Okay.
And it's going to take me a while to recover. It'll take a year off my life, I'm sure.
All right. I mean, he just kind of sounds sad now.
Yeah.
It's not shouty. It's just bummed.
That's just he's just a fan, man. I mean, that's just a fan saying, look, things haven't gone our way this season.
Yeah.
But if we just win out, which I expect.
I expected, as soon as we won a game, I just expected the next 8 to follow.
Yeah. We're just going to win out. Clearly, we're going to beat every team on the schedule, even if they're better than us.
Incrementally better teams. Yeah.
Which, by the way, the Carolina game, as you sent me today, Carolina favored over the Cowboys this weekend. First time Carolina's been favored in
since December 2022, was it?
Yeah.
I think I said you.
Not one game in the 23 season, not one game in the 24 season to this point, heading into week 15. And
basically 2 straight years they have not been favored for a game, and they are favored for this Dallas game. So
Dr. Eager, man, turning things around over there.
Just making moves.
So I don't have much. I feel for Skip. I mean, that's what. Let me just say this. That's what happens when you buy into the Cooper Rush is better than Dak Prescott narrative that you created.
Yeah. Well, look, it's the sad demise of the Dallas Cowboys this year, but it's also the sad demise of Skip's place on Mount Rushmore of the Shouty Shows. Like, this is late stage Dan Marino we're watching here, right? The 99, was it Dan Marino, the final year where they're like
against my Jags, 62-7. It was 38-0 early in the second quarter. That's
where it's like, Dan, we love you, you're a hero, but you need to pack it up and go home.
We should do a watch along for that game.
Right. This that's what that was, right? There was no Shouty, there was no, razzmatazz. It was just a sad old man being bummed. That's not what we're here for.
No. Sad Skip. I mean, he's going to lose a year of life because of a Cooper Rush Monday Night Football game. I mean, that's on you. That's on you, Skip. Sorry.
That's some life priorities you need to reevaluate.
I would also say I don't think Oruwariye is going to go down in history. Like, it's the original, Leon Lett. It's just like Dano running out of the end zone. Jimmy G did it last year. Nobody even remembers that Jimmy G did it last year. It's Dano's thing.
Nobody's
he did it
done
first.
It with the panache of Dano, though.
Yeah.
Like
Jimmy G barely did it.
That's what I'm saying.
Dano was like running next to cheerleaders when he did it.
People have stepped out of the end zone again, right? Nobody has taken on the cross country running arc that Dano took just to get the hell away from Jared Allen.
It was Lambo leaping away from from the defensive line thinking, what's wrong?
The point where you're hurdling, placards and like advertising hoardings and things, it probably should have occurred to you that, maybe this isn't still the end zone.
All right,
Anyway.
let's get to number 2 here.
You feel better or worse about the Chiefs after this close victory?
I'm going to guess better.
So much better. What a wonderful weekend.
And this is
It couldn't have gone better. It couldn't. Because we see the Bills, who were this close to catching the Chiefs for the 1 seed.
True.
Listen, they played great. They played such a great game. We're going to talk about it later. Their quarterback probably locked up the MVP with a month to go.
Can you still rip the Bills?
No.
One of your teams.
I do believe in the Bills, and I think this year has proven out that belief was well earned. But I just love that the Bills, it's very apropos. The Bills can look amazing in a loss and have it help their quarterback's MVP candidacy. The Chiefs can look middling in a win. And of course, the question is, are we concerned? And this is the part that really made it a great weekend, Wilds. We get to add there's another addition to the dopes complaints. We have Likely's toe. We have a properly called defensive pass interference. We have Tampa Bay not going for 2. We have Denver getting a kick blocked. We have needing a field goal against Carolina. We have a fumble against the Raiders. And now we have, as called on the broadcast, the doink for the division.
The doink for the division.
I'm shocked that Nick was optimistic coming out of that game.
Yeah, well, I mean, this must be Christmas for him. Just like imagine being, a Shouty Show proponent, a self-proclaimed Shouty Show proponent and artist, who happens to be a fan of the current dynastic team. Like, that must be everything you could possibly wish for, right? It'd be like if Skip, if Dallas was in the middle of the 90s Skip, right? You feel like nothing can go wrong. No matter what happens, my team's going to find a way of doing it, and I can then troll everybody else off the back of it.
I think that was not a big part, but maybe a small part of Portnoy's rise with Barstool, because he always had that. It's not Shouty Show, but a confidence, and it was like, I'm just gonna be brash about my New England sports teams, which happen to be coincide with the Patriots being great and everything. But yeah, I still don't understand the dynamic of analysts or Shouty Showers being fans and people liking that, unless you're going to hate watch Nick Wright until the Chiefs lose, just for his Chiefs analysis, not the other stuff necessarily. But I don't completely get it. But yeah, we needed to get Nick back on the show, and I'm not surprised that he is optimistic coming out of another game where they snuck through last week.
Yeah,
but they're also they gained a game on Buffalo.
Yes.
To get the number 1
seed. I mean, you should be optimistic coming off the back of that. Like, yeah, they separated themselves from Buffalo in the race for the 1 seed. And again, like he sort of made this point on our show. Okay, look, there's a difference between the Raiders game, I think, is the best example. There's a difference between the Raiders game, which is a scenario from
the Raiders literally handed it to them.
Yes, you can pause the game at a certain spot, and the Chiefs should have lost that game based off none of their own actions, right? They didn't do anything to win it. They were given the game by the opposition from that point. There's a difference between that and the very easy chip shot kick to win this game got closer than it should have and doinked in off the upright, right? That's a game where you pause it before the kick, and you're like, what happens to this game to a random fan, right? They go, well, the Chiefs win. So the Chiefs win. The right outcome came. You ask them the same question when the Raiders have the ball before that snap, and they'd be like, well, the Raiders win. They kick a field goal, they win the game. And the other thing happened. Actually, no, they managed to find a way of fumbling this snap. There was an old, sports kind of comedy quiz show thing in the UK, Question of Sport, where they used to pause a sporting event at a certain moment. I mean, like, what happens now, right? And it was always something ridiculous you'd never be able to guess.
We should play that game with the Chiefs.
Right. But, it's that, right? What happens from this point on? Generally speaking, the correct things have been happening for Kansas City in terms of they are winning the games they're supposed to, but the Raiders game is one that they should have lost. This isn't that.
No, I agree. It's even funnier, though, that it doinked. Like, as if he had missed it, it'd been like, bad luck, Chiefs. Your third kicker just missed the kick, but no, it went through. It was only a 31-yarder anyway. Anyway, Nick remains optimistic with the Chiefs. Let's get to number 3 here.
All I know is that New York fans, y'all owe Zach Wilson an apology. Zach Wilson was 5-7 was 5-7 last year. Aaron Rodgers 3-10. New York, y'all owe them an apology.
Yeah. You owe me
Now, y'all need to put y'all money together. Put y'all money together and take out an ad in the Post, Page 6, the New York Times, the Daily News. I don't care. Put it. Hey, whoever flew that plane over for the Giants, y'all need to fly one over for the Jets.
The Zach Wilson was done dirty is the take here.
Yeah, which is not true.
No,
and it's kind of silly.
Yeah, I will say in sports generally, I don't like the narrative thing, the history will repeat itself thing. I generally push back against that. One example would have been the 07 Giants upset the Patriots, and then they played in the Super Bowl 4 years later, and it's like, okay, well, this time will the Patriots have a better team again? Not as big of a difference, but they have a better team. They should win it. Eli can't be clutch again. He can't do. And the same thing happened essentially. That's I generally push back against that stuff. Now you have the Jets, and here's the evidence for this year. You have Sam Darnold, former Jet, as an MVP candidate now in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. You have Aaron Rodgers, former MVP, showing up to the Jets and being 3-10. And we don't have any counterfactuals with Zach Wilson and what he's doing. But I'm almost to the point where it's like, is there something there? Is there something there? Like, would we actually see a different Zach Wilson if, for instance, he got to start for the Broncos under Sean Payton, or got to start somewhere else? I don't know. I don't think Zach Wilson needs an apology, though. It's not like he played well, and certainly not just because he was 5-7 and Rodgers was 3-10.
Yeah,
but I do wonder how much, the playing in New York thing and the whole organization. I wonder how much that is.
These are
affecting
different.
Things.
Yeah, these are different things, right? If you owe Zach Wilson an apology, you also owe one to Sam Darnold, to Christian Hackenberg, to every quarterback that's been in the Jets organization over the last decade plus, like since the new ownership took over. Effectively, is the argument being made, right? This is an institutional problem, and that I think has some merit. There's an argument that's perfectly legitimate that like the problems with the Jets run deeper than the personnel, right? I think that's a reasonable point to make, but it's not really the point that's being made. The point that's being made is obviously, this team was terrible and it was like the quarterback was fine, which is not the case. Like Zach Wilson played terribly and deserved to be run out of there. Like whether or not he was set up to fail that way is a different conversation. But you can't look at this and say, well, Aaron Rodgers has not won very many games. Zach Wilson won more. Therefore, Zach Wilson is better than Aaron Rodgers. Like Zach Wilson playing the way he played worse than Aaron Rodgers has played this year. So it's not the same. It's not, you can't just flip one for the other and say, well, obviously the problems were everything else.
You also have, and look, part of this is when you sign an older quarterback, they might be injury prone. Nobody's even bringing up, Rodgers is still 40 coming off an Achilles. How high should expectations have been anyway? Not 3-10, but maybe we should have considered that a little bit.
I think people considered it, but the rest of the roster looked good enough that I was certainly making the argument that they don't need MVP Aaron Rodgers.
If they get their best roster in a while.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So if they get anything like, I thought if Rodgers played at the level he has played this year, that should have been enough for 10 wins and a contending team, and it hasn't been. Like that's the issue.
I will say I've always been intrigued by Zach Wilson, and I will remain intrigued by Zach Wilson.
You're still intrigued by Jameis Winston. Like I think at some stage,
absolutely,
your desire to take on crazy,
who isn't
toolsy, volatile
who
quarterbacks
not intrigued by Jameis Winston?
Possibly a red flag.
All right, let's get to the last one.
Okay. Niners 38, Bears 13.
Debut.
That game sucked. The Bears are a joke. They're so bad. They got Eberflus fired with a fired coach. You'd think they'd come out with a purpose. I don't know. Anyone getting quiet? I'm done. They're in like the Jaguars pile of like what does it even matter anymore?
Fire Thomas Brown.
Yeah, fire Thomas Brown. It's just there's no point. Just get the season over with. Just get it over with. Was Matt Eberflus actually a good coach? How did he win 4 games?
So this is
welcome, Big Cat.
This is like cable being replaced by streaming giants, right? This is Skip Bayless, the sad decline of Skip on Mount Rushmore, and he's now being replaced by Big Cat from online platform.
Yeah, that's true.
Pardon my take. And it's the same genre, right? Like the bummed fan who just watched his team disappoint yet again, and Skip just has been drained of all energy, right? Which is understandable. That's what happens when your team loses, but there's nothing there, right? There's no spark. There's no engagement. Big Cat bummed also as a Bears fan.
For the 6th straight year.
Right, exactly. For a I guess probably the same period of time. But
for 15 out of the last 16 or more.
Yeah. But, dealing with the same weight of disappointment is able to come up with some engaging content off the back.
He is.
I like that.
So what he's hinting at there is the thing that we always talk about is the Bears were able to not even overcome the interim head coach bump. Other teams get the interim head coach bump, and somehow the Bears got worse during interim head coach bump week. That's why he was so upset. So welcome Big Cat to the show, and we apologize for the Bears. I wonder where they were in his power rankings this week.
I don't know.
Let's get the weekly power rankings.
Right.
They're probably pretty low in the computer power rankings from Big Cat.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.